Hi, welcome back. I'm Naren, and in this video, we will be discussing about exit plan. And the goal of this talk is to discuss about exit plan, the need of it, and at least trying to think in that direction to have an exit plan. And the agenda includes we will start with the need of a plan and what is the exit state, and then what happens when we don't have a plan but we hit the exit state, and then the need to think about preparing and handling any change. So we will start with talking about the plan. So failing to plan is planning to fail. Let's take an example of the education system. If you are doing a master's course of 2 years, then there exists a plan which is says that it is a 2-year course where you will be having some number of semesters, and you will have exams, and at the end you will also have a campus hiring. And if you are part of a company in your career, then there will be a series of quarters where the company will try to plan and execute in each quarter. And also, if you think about yearly launches or roadmap, that can also be considered as the plan. And what are the main attributes of a plan? First one is the timeline. So there will be some timeline where you want to achieve something, and also there will be a start and end state, so that you will travel from start to end state, and we can think of that as a line connecting the two dots of start and end state. And once you have that, you will have some strategy to move from one state to next. And if you think about life, there also we will have plans. So you can look at life as a series of connected dots of events where we try to plan each segment of that, which can be considered as each phase of your life, where a dot represents a major change of state. So in case of education, we can consider education to work life as the major transition state. And there will be an exit state, which is the end of each state. What is the criteria to end that state? And in case of education, the ending of education can be defined with whether you are passing that exams and maybe having some better score and a job offer, so that you can finish the education and start your work life. So that kind of defines the exit state for your education if you're doing, let's say, masters. And if you are part of a company in your work life, there are also different phases exist in terms of your career plan. Let's say if you stay in a company, then there will be a series of different roles. Like maybe you can start with a software engineer, and then you will move on to senior software engineer, tech lead, etc. And not only being part of the same company, even if you switch many companies, a series of companies in your profession can also be different phases. Like maybe you will be in Meta, then Google, maybe you will move to some startups. And not only that, like maybe you might even switch your professions. Maybe you will start with an engineer, and then maybe you want to explore some of your passion like music and all. So that can also be considered as different phases with a different profession in your life. So that talks about the plan. Now if you look at the exit plan for each phase, what we need is to know the exit state, so that you can also have a timeline to reach that state, and for that you need to make a strategy and execute that. So the exit plan constitutes to know the exit state, having a timeline, making a strategy, and executing that. Why this is important in each phase? Because then you will have some sense of direction to reach towards that exit state, so that you will be more focused, and because of that you will improve the prioritization when there are many things in your life to make decisions. So education and switching to work is one example of having an exit plan at the end of the education to switch to work life. But if you notice here, in case of education and switching to work, a plan exists, which in this case is kind of a default plan, which can be like an obvious plan for switching from education to work, that we know that okay, there is a, let's say for master's 2-year timeline, and there is a state which says that you have to pass your exams and maybe have an offer to join some company. So this plan is kind of default, and it is inherent there, and it is kind of ready-made, which is pushed onto you, that you unknowingly use that plan. So that's about the exit plan definition, and let's look at the exit scenario in case of, let's say, when you enter the work from your education. So normally most of the people who enter the industry from the education, they enter without an exit plan for their work career or work life. So if you want to have an exit plan for your work life, so what is that? So at least you should have some exit state. What is that state? And then what is the timeline that you're looking for that work life? Like maybe a retirement age. And if you don't have that thought process to have an exit state and even the timeline, so you can think how good your strategy will be to even to execute if you don't know the exit state and the timeline. So the side effects of not having an exit state is the wrong direction. You don't know what is the right direction you have to move, so that it results in making wrong priorities in your life, wrong decisions, and you will lose focus. So when we see a switch from education to work, so there is a default plan, you just use it. Whereas in other cases, in other scenarios, like when you enter the work life, we need to be proactive in having an exit plan. So for the work life, and also in many cases in your personal life as well. Because if you don't have an exit plan, then you will enter the autopilot mode, and you will have less control, and you won't be consciously taking the decisions or choosing things. If you look at the career plan, then you need to have exit plan for various growth stages. Even from your current role to the next role, you need to have some exit plan, like what is that the end of that current phase, and what is the average timeline that you are looking at, and what strategy you are making to reach that exit state. And also in the career, if you want to switch to specializations, you need to have exit plans for that to achieve that. And also if you think about some challenges like moving to startups and have some different career there, you need to have exit plans. If you look at your personal life, there even like if you want to be financially independent, like if you want to be part of the FIRE movement, which is about financial independence and retire early, you need to be proactive and have an exit plan, which includes what is the exit state for your financial state, and what is the timeline you are looking at, and come up with that exit plan. Even if you want to explore some of your passions, or to prioritize your fitness and the goals for fitness, you need to have some exit plans. So note that behind many great challenges there will be a deadline. So even though our goal is to have the plans, the exit plans, if we feel that it is difficult to come up with a perfect exit plan, at least we can, as a first step, start thinking in that direction. And the second step, we can start with a draft timeline. So our timeline can be like a flexible deadline. So it's good to start with one timeline, and then we can fine tune it as we move forward. So one example is, let's say you start your work life from the education, how long you want to work. So you can think about an exit plan. So for that, at least you can start thinking in the timeline attribute of that exit plan. How long you want to be working. Is it 10 years, 20, 30 or 40 years? It's good to start with one number as a timeline, so that based on that you can start planning other things. Because even when you're part of your work life, in your day-to-day work life, there also you will be having, most of the companies will have these quarterly OKRs, which are objectives and key results, where you plan and execute things. They will have this 3-month timeline, and based on that they have some exit plan for that quarter, what they need to achieve so that they can move on to the next quarter. So similarly, at least easiest way to start with is to have some timeline, and based on that you start exploring. Let's look at what happens if you don't have a plan but still you hit exit state. So you don't have a plan but you hit the exit state. These things can be unplanned exits which are not in your control, and you feel like it's unfair for you to hit that exit state which was not planned. Some examples includes the recent layoffs. So there can be a tsunami of changes in your personal or professional life which are not planned, unplanned, and suddenly you will be shocked to face those exit states. So it can be layoffs in your professional life, or maybe a loss of loved one in your personal life. It may be financial crisis in the market, or even in your personal life. Even if you look at the technologies, there are accelerated changes happening in all parts of your life, whether professional or personal life. So there also you will see a lot of changes happening, and even for your career also there will be a lot of changes which may be due to pandemic effect, which introduced work from home and then a hybrid model, and now even sharing desk with others. So there may be recessions affecting your career changes, or let's say you are a 45 plus age group, maybe you are in a stage thinking about retirement, because you might be like the first batch of the IT revolution, and maybe there is some invisible pressure and stress for you to think about the retirement, because you may be finding it difficult even to survive in this industry after working so long. So as Bruce Lee said, it is the training which is key for you to face challenges. So what is that training when we talk about surfing these tsunami of changes? So notice that change is hard, and we can't just think about being ready to face the changes. So there is nothing like perfect timing, and you can't be ready for all the changes. So we need to get rid of that thought process, and we should try to face these tsunami of changes. And one tip is to try adopt, adapt, and adapt, triple A's. So this can be a preparation to face these challenges and changes, and also when that happens, what actions you can take to navigate those changes. So first one is about adapt, where you can slowly change which is in your control. It's more about proactively thinking about the upcoming challenges and trying to prepare for that. Second one is adapt, where you need to be more flexible to changes as the situation and shocks you face in your life, which are not in your control. You try to adapt to the new situations. Third one is adept, where you should not be complacent and you should anticipate, improve skills to become an expert to face these changes. And the triple A related to skills, at least make sure that let's say if you are a computer science background engineer, then the basics of computer science is more important than specialization. Like if you are not so good at your basics, then it doesn't matter whether you spend more time in specializing in some stuff. So if you are strong with your basics, then even though you face changes on the right side of this list, first case, if let's say you want to work on some new specialization, then it may be a bit easier for you to adapt to that change if your basics is strong. Similarly, if you have a strong programming mindset, then maybe switching your programming language will be easier. So you can easily adapt to that change when your basics are strong. Even compared to producing new code, you need to be very good at analytical and debugging skills because you will be spending a lot more time in doing those things as part of your job profiles. And quick learning curve is more important than picking up the latest technology, because if you are good in that, then it is easier for you to adapt to any new changes in the technologies. Also, soft skills are more important than your technical skills when you want to grow in your career. So it doesn't mean that without tech skills you can progress. It is more like if your soft skills are stronger, you can easily adapt to these technical changes that's happening. And next thing is about mindfully surfing the changes. So the mindfulness, awareness of where your attention is more important, because you can be focusing on what is important when you are facing these changes. And also slowly you need to find yourself defining the boundaries, so that you should not go for perfection always. You should know what is good enough for you, because if you don't define your boundaries, you will be stretched beyond your threshold, and which can affect your work and personal life. And then also you can even prioritize what is important for you based on that. So you need to have some awareness of what is good enough for you, and make sure that on a day-to-day basis you take time to re-energize and reconnect with yourself, so that you can face these changes. And note that winners choose to embrace change and adopt quicker than others, so that it helps them to do the course correction and also navigate the situation. And you can also use the triple A's to plan the exit status and milestones in other areas of your life as well. Even you need to think about the progress you want to make as an exit status for your well-being, so that you can reduce stress in your personal as well as professional life. And also you need to think about what can be the exit state for your fitness, health and happiness, so that you can prioritize right values in your life and not consumed by the corporate race, only chasing money and lifestyles. So you need to know what is enough for you, which may be unique for you. And when you face these changes, you need to balance it. And for the balancing act, you need something constant which you can use it as a support to handle these series of changes that you face in your life. And to find that constant in your work or personal life, some examples will be maybe your family, friends, and maybe your networks, like your professional connections. And it can also be your life outside your work. What is that life you define? And it can be your hobby, passion. So it indirectly says that you need to build these things ahead of time before you are encountering any of these major challenges. because when you face these challenges, then you can't start building these family, friends and connections, or even the life outside work. So you need to be aware and proactively build these constants in your life, so that you can use that as a support to navigate major changes that happens in your life. And you can try to detach from, say, your work life in terms of emotional and financial attachment. So there may be emotional attachment, but you can try to reduce that with the company. And at the same time, there will be financial attachment with the company. At least you depend on the company to earn. But at least slowly you need to think about financial independence, so that you can slowly detach about the full dependency for survival in the company. And also in parallel, slowly you can start finding meaning and purpose in your life, the work. Now coming to the exit plan. What we have seen is we need plans to reach our goals, or at least to have some sense in where we are going, to have some direction and to have focus and all. When you at least start working from, let's say when you switch from education to work, it's good to have some exit plan. And also same thing is needed in each phases of your life, in work life and your personal life, so that you will have a sense of direction, a timeline, and you can focus properly to navigate that phase of your life. So normally, in many cases, we just use ready-made plans as in education. But in other scenarios, when you start working, there won't be any ready-made plans, and in such cases we forget to create one. We proceed with your work life without any clear exit state. So as an example, just ask yourself, what is the retirement age? If you are part of a government job in India, it's 60 years is the retirement age. But if you think about an IT person, what is that retirement age? Is it 60, 50, 40? Since there is no defined age, so there is no clear answer, then we need to think what is sustainable for this kind of job profile. There may not be a standard age for everyone in this industry, but at least you need to start thinking and try to figure out that number, so that you don't destroy your health and life just overstretching yourself in your so-called work life, this IT industry. So whenever you enter a new phase in your life, think whether you have an exit plan. If not, at least you can start thinking about having one. So if you find this useful, please like, subscribe and share, and thank you for watching.